Well, good morning, gang, and welcome to this week's Morning Coffee and a Thought brought to you by Wings of Faith Ministries here in Sarnia, Ontario. It's good to be with you. I hope you have your coffee. I've got mine here. This morning, I'd like to talk about a personal story, a pivotal time in my life where God gave me a scripture right for that moment, but that scripture has stuck with me ever since that time back in 2014 when I had hit a pivotal point in my life. It was a scripture taken from Genesis 15, and it occurred in the life of the great Jewish patriarch Abraham. So we'll get back to my story and that scripture in just a moment. First of all, I want to remind you that Morning Coffee and a Thought can be seen every Friday beginning at 1 p.m. on our Wings of Faith YouTube channel, and every Friday morning beginning at 8 a.m. on our Facebook page. We hope you will join us. Also, if you have a prayer request, if you want any information or you want to make a donation to our ministry, you can do all of that at wingsoffaithministries.ca. Also, if these videos ministered to you, we hope you would like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And finally, Al and I completed an 8-part series of videos on intercessory prayer, and you can also find those on our YouTube channel. So let's get back to our thought. Before I talk about my story, I want to look at this pivotal moment in Abraham's life, and then the scripture will make a whole lot more sense. Abraham had moved from Mesopotamia, the city of Ur, and moved 600 miles to the northwest to a place called Haran. Now, whether it was in Ur or Haran, I'm not going to say we're sure about that, but God calls Abraham to leave his family and to move to the land of Canaan, which will be another 400 miles to the southwest. Abraham obeys that call, where Abraham will receive a promise from God of both land and descendants. And so Abraham takes that journey from Haran to Canaan. Now, for the next 10 years, Abraham is going to live in Canaan. He's going to endure a famine. He's going to sojourn in Egypt for a while, then get thrown out of Egypt, come back to Canaan. He's going to be involved in a huge conflict with a bunch of tribes that are fighting each other in Canaan, of which his nephew Lot, whom came with him on his journey, will be captured, and Abraham will save him. And that's all recorded in Genesis chapter 14. But it's after this battle, we come to Genesis 15 and the pivotal moment in Abraham's life. After this battle has been fought, Abraham rescues Lot. Abraham has this moment where he is now 85 years old. His wife is 75 years old. He has wandered in this no man's land now for over 10 years. He doesn't own a foot of it. Now, he's got herds, he's got flocks, he's got money, but without land and wells in order to feed and nourish your herds, you're really like a ship without a paddle. And it's been like this for 10 years. And so Abraham has hit a point in his life where he's wondering, where is God in all of this? I'm now 85 years old, I still have no children, and I still have no land. And it's at this point in his life that God speaks to him. And he says to him, Abraham, do not be afraid. I am your shield and your very great reward. It's at this point that Abraham will question God. I've been here for 10 years, he will say. And so far, my inheritance is going to end up going to somebody in Damascus because I don't have any land and I have no descendants. It's here that God will ask Abraham to bring a sacrifice. Abraham does that, and God puts Abraham into a very deep sleep, where Abraham will have a dream of the future of both his family and the nation that will come from that family and will actually inherit the land that he's living on. A pivotal moment in Abraham's life. And yet, God was there to give him the security of knowing, listen, I hear you, I understand where you're at, let me show you the good things I have in store for you in the future. It is that scripture that ministered to me back in 2014. I had come to work for a company that I had been with for over 40 years. I arrived at work at 7 in the morning, thinking this day was going to be like every other day at work. It was then that I got called to an office. And 1 hour after arriving at work, I was walked out of work. It's then that you realize you've come to a pivotal moment in your life. Where do I go from here? Exactly the thoughts I'm sure Abraham had that day when God appeared to him. Where do I go from here? And yet the words that were spoken to Abraham in Genesis 15:1 were the same words on that given day that I arrived at in my daily Bible reading. It turned out that when I came home, in reading my Bible, I had arrived at Genesis 15:1. Don't be afraid, I am your shield and your very great reward. That verse ministered to me that morning. I knew that despite the dilemma I was in, of not having a career anymore, and it happening so suddenly, I knew not to be anxious, not to be afraid, not to get discouraged, but that God would be my shield and would be my reward. That happened almost 11 years ago. And today I can tell you that that scripture has proved to be true. There have been many ups and downs in my life since that day in May of 2014. And yet through all the ups and downs of life, the pivotal moments in my life, God has been there as my shield and my comfort, and knowing that he's in charge of my future. Abraham found God in no man's land. He didn't own anything. The children he had been promised hadn't arrived yet. And yet, God comforted him that day by saying those two lines, don't be afraid, I'm your shield and I'm your great reward. And in my situation in May of 2014, that same line came to me from the Lord, don't be afraid, I'm your shield, I'll be your great reward. And through that, God has taken me through some many tough and trying times. Health issues, the loss of a spouse, all of these things are trials of life. And yet God is there to minister to us if we put our faith and trust in him. He is our ever-present source for whatever we need at that time. I think back of when Moses met God at the burning bush and asked God, "What is your name?" And God said to him, "I am that I am. I am whatever you need me to be at that time." God has proven that to me in my life over and over and over again. In the pivotal moments of my life when I needed something to hold me together because of a crisis that had hit me. Our God is our shield, knowing that He is our protector, and nothing will happen to us that our God cannot get us through. That's what Christ promises us, that He will stick closer than a brother, and He'll always be with us, no matter what we face in our lives. Listen, have a wonderful day, enjoy your coffee, and we'll see you again next week.